Ready? Yep. Okay, g'day everyone. Can all hear me all right? No one answered, but I'll just take that as a yes. A little bit louder? Yep. Is that actually doing anything? It's not on? Is this supposed to be on? Sound? All right. All right, I'll just talk loudly. I can do that. I'm Australian. My name is Pete Moore, and I'm from Atlassian. I'm part of the developer tools team, and I'm here, funnily enough, to talk about developer tools. If that throws anybody, you can leave now. Right, so Atlassian was originally a developer tools company. I mean, really, Jira started out was for developers, and even Confluence originally was kind of for development teams. And even though Atlassian's branched out, they're still for tools, and the investments that they've made, continuing like from Senqua right up to Greenhopper, see this as for anybody who's been not concentrating. I'll just run through what each tool does, because you might not all be 100% with all of the product names. So Bamboo, continuous integration server; Clover, test optimization and code coverage for Java. Now, it's not just a code coverage tool, I might say that a few times. Crucible is a peer code review tool. Fisheye is our repository browser. And Greenhopper is the cool thing with the shiny cards that makes Jira more fun in iterative development. So we often get asked at Atlassian, especially this kind of thing, what our ALM story is. And we certainly have an ALM story, but like so many three-letter acronyms, it kind of doesn't really do it for me. That's why a two-letter acronym for real life is much better. ALM stands for Application Lifecycle Management, but you can think of it as a catch-all for anybody that's out there trying to sell the flavor of the month process. You can think of it as Waterfall 2008. It's probably a little bit unfair, but basically they have a fairly simplistic view of the world, that you gather some requirements, docs, spreadsheets, wiki pages, and you can use Confluence for that. You break that into tasks and you track them, maybe, and now in Greenhopper, you write code which you can access through Fisheye. And there's a little bucket in various flavors of ALM for QA, and obviously we have some offerings in that space. And then you ship it, and that kind of makes sense, but it's not that realistic. But we still have a story. So we have Confluence and Jira and Fisheye and Bamboo, Clover and Crucible, and we really do have an ALM story. And it would be tempting for us to kind of go with the marketecture and talk about that, but that's kind of not the Atlassian way. So, because we think that real life is far more interesting than anything that people sell a suite for, and you have to buy the whole suite to make it work, because that's why it doesn't work quite for you, because you only have one part of it. So if we looked at a real life example, we're going to need just a little bit more room here. I've been clicking on the wrong keyboard, sorry everyone. That makes a lot more sense as to what I was saying just a second ago. All right, now we need more room here. Thanks for letting me know, by the way. Right, so you maybe start with some code, and you write a prototype. Then you might write up some, start to document your findings. You've got a few users, so you start to track that. You may maybe in Jira. You write some tests. You go ahead and and you get approval, so that you start to write out some more, maybe a more detailed spec, or maybe some stories, or both. You write more code, you've got more tests, you've got a continuous build setup. Hopefully you're doing code review as well, and then eventually you ship. But you probably have you've probably shipped several times along the way. Now that you've shipped, you're getting lots of bugs and features and things that your testing didn't pick up, and you write more code, and there's more QA, and you know, the Hakuna Matata circle of life, right? So that's real life, and the thing about this is that, you know, the little ALM story can fit nicely with this, with our products. But I think Atlassian's strength is the fact you can mix and match our products with other products, and they work well in the kind of the soup that is real life development, where you're doing everything all the time in different orders. Often some would say backward, but you know, that's just how we get stuff done. So let's just have a look at this stuff. It's been so successful so far, where I'm glad I put my praying in. Right. I'm glad I'm using two computers. So let's do a trivial issue. Right. So this is I'm going to use Ideas. This is IntelliJ connector panel, and you can use any of your saved filters to view issues, and you can create custom filters as well in the client, and clicking on an issue opens the detailed view. Right, so break a unit test or two. I think this fits my skill set, and I can assign it to myself with one click, and I can also, there you go. So now that issue is assigned to me in Jira, and I can create a change list that will activate the issue, and that makes the change list, creates a local one in IntelliJ for me. And now I can you know, break something. So yeah, there we go. We're broken, and now we're running the tests with Clover enabled. You know, this will take a few moments, but it would take a lot longer. This is just one package in Confluence. If we ran the entire suite, just the unit test, it would take about 40 minutes. And so this is going to take hopefully around 17 seconds. There you go, 16 seconds. And remember that number for later. And you can see that Clover is going to show us the coverage here, and it shows us that our change actually has coverage, but now that coverage is coming from a failing test. So an average coverage tool wouldn't tell you that. You would just have coverage, and it wouldn't really be that helpful in this situation. So that's pretty cool. Now that's broken. We've achieved the Jira. We should just go and check that in. Now we get given the commit ID there was filled in from the connector, because it had created the change list for it. So there's no making a mistake with entering the wrong Jira ID and having to go and correct that later, or just it being wrong forever. And we can go over and start a review, because there's a complex change that needs a review. The simplest thing to do is just to add that whole commit to a review, and we've just got it there in one click, and now we have job done. We're all good, and we can open this up and select a couple of lines and make a comment. Probably, let's fix it. Right. So there you go. You've got a review created, just one click. We could have done that from IntelliJ, but I work on this UI, so I wanted to use this. And one of the features that Mike mentioned this morning, which is really nice, is the ability to link a review. So it's suggested that we link to the comp 15941 because that was in the review title, which was automatically came from the commit. And we can just click on that, and we now have a a Jira relationship to this thing, to this review, which then gives us this new button, Create Issue. We can click that, and we have now created a subtask in Jira. No applause. Tough crowd, seriously. It's pretty cool. And so you can click through the subtask because it's a real Jira issue. And you can see that the name of the task came from the text in the comment. We've also got the whole text of the comment in the thing in the description with a link back. Any replies that are added in Crucible will be comments in Jira. So you have this nice relationship, and you don't have to use Jira to benefit from being able to track defects now in Crucible, but you also don't have to use Crucible to be able to track the status of issues, which is something that dev leads and project managers are often saying to me, like, it's great to have this review stuff, but I have to keep going into Crucible to find out where it's up to. And by being able to really simply create subtasks, you can kind of get that sense of where things are at, rather than just a state in review. Now, if we look at the parent issue, we can see that the subtask is there, and we could resolve it right here, but it'll be better to actually go and fix it first, right? So we could also resolve it in Crucible. So back to IntelliJ. And there's a Bamboo notification that's off the screen awesomely. So you can click through from that to go actually into Bamboo. And if you click on the Issues tab, you can get all the issues. So you can get the whole Bamboo experience, or you can go into IntelliJ and look at the build there. So this is really nice. You can see the changes that were involved, the tests. You can click on a test here and rerun that test that failed on the server to see if it fails locally. But one of the nicest features is the simplest, which is you can scroll up the build log and you can click on, so this is the server build log, and so we can click on anything in there, stack trace, whatever, and navigate to that in our local workspace. So if we now go and fix this. There you go. And what we want to do is now rerun our test, but we'll rerun an optimized build this time. And Clover can just run the test classes that had coverage where our change was, if that makes sense. And so as you can see, it's only including 2 test classes out of 41. So in this trite little example, it took 5.8 seconds instead of 16 point something, but the benefits from test optimization are not linear. So if we were running the full test suite, it took 40 minutes, and your change only affected 2 test classes, it's going to be a little bit more setup time, but you're seriously talking about a massive, massive win. And the idea being that people might be more likely to rerun that kind of the selection of tests, rather than blindly doing kind of what I did and just running the ones in a package or something. You never know what you've got. That information, it can really encourage you. And I think Brendan, who was just on stage here before, he likes to say, test less so you can test more. Tough crowd. All right. All right, and another handy connector feature here is in the Jira tab, is that we can just open an arbitrary issue. So the thing was comp 1592 and 42, and it just opens it straight up there. So think how long that would go to Jira, even just with the handy parts of Jira. So we can assign that task to ourselves and start a new change list, just like we did before. And we can now commit that. Right. And Also a very good idea to put the Crucible ID, in fact any ID, into your commit comments, because then Fisheye can do interesting things with it for you. So here we're going to paste in the key to our review, and we're going to commit eventually. All right, committing changes. There we go. And so now we need to do a re-review on this change, because it was just as complex as our original change. And there's a few different ways that you can update a review. One is to do exactly what we did before, and this is why you want to have keys in your commit comments, because now Fisheye can do interesting things with them and let you drill down into detail that you didn't have before. And now if we just click on the little cog, we can do exactly what we did before, just add it to the review. But this time, Crucible recognizes that you already had a review that was related to both that file and and it had the key in the commit comment. And so it said, you know, you've already got a review going. Do you want to just add this change to your existing review rather than start a new review? Which we're not going to do this time. We're going to go into the review, because we've only got one file to change, and show you another cool way of updating a review. So we can click on the file, and then we get a red file outdated, which is telling us we're reviewing not the latest version of the file. And we can just choose add latest, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. We've now updated the review, and there's no change, because the diff between changing something and changing it back is nothing. But we can just pull that little slider along, and now we have a different diff. And you can pick any. You see those little ones are telling you that there was a comment that's related to that revision. Or we can look at the whole source just like we did before by dragging along. And this little slider thing, it needs a little bit of finessing, I must admit. People keep calling it the London tube map, but it's still it's very handy when you've got more than a handful of revisions in a review. And there you go. So we've resolved that task, and we're done. So that issue sorted out, but I'm not going to have time to come back to Crucible. So I just want to have one more feature, which is these keyboard shortcuts. That there is now heaps of keyboard shortcuts, so you can pretty much drive Crucible without using the mouse. Not completely, but you can really power through a lot of reviews. And Shift F is my favourite one of those shortcuts, which is a full screen mode for Crucible. So that's kind of our little task. So, you know, what did we see there? We did a lot of things really quickly. We touched, you know, if you're going to use that ALM thing, we did every part of that except for release. And we actually used all Atlassian tools. And you know, it was a little bit trivial, trite example, if you will, but it's not that far removed from many of the changes that we do all the time, where we actually do the entire life cycle of read a story, do the work, review it, you know, test it, check your tests are good, build it, break a build, fix the build. You know, they're all part of that. I think I'm labouring that point. So let's move on to have just a quick run through of the products. Everyone knows code review is a good thing, trademark. No one told me again. However, it's not practiced as much as we say. There's still people that out there doing code review, but I think they're the outliers, and most of us either know we should be doing it, or we know that we should be doing more, but we don't do it because it's a pain in the proverbial. So Crucible's goal is to remove the annoying bits and enhance the good bits. And I think Crucible 1 was a good step in that direction, but Crucible 2 moves us much further along the path. And it also sets us up for to fix some more problems that are kind of repeat things in the future. Iterative review is what we're calling the updating revisions in a review, so you can have multiple revisions. It really does change the way you think about review once review is not a single meeting or moment in time. A review is an ongoing process, so it's more like you're reviewing the issue than reviewing one commit. The Jira integration is pretty cool. You can come and see that at the booth here or at Java 1. And one of the other things that's our most voted issue is external database support. So we now support Postgres and MySQL, and the others are coming. And if anybody corners us and tells us that why don't we just use Hibernate and we won't have any problems, yeah, don't, would be the recommendation, because it's not true. And there's heaps of other little features. The IDE connector we kind of had a look at today. If you haven't installed it and you use IntelliJ or Eclipse, highly recommend it. If you've tried it a little while ago, it's really come on in leaps and bounds in the last few months. And the way you can measure that is a year ago we had to go or it's 9 months ago we had to go and beat people into you trying the connector and installing it and keeping it up to date. And now everyone's using the connector, and if you see someone navigate to fisheye the old way, it just, you think they're strange. The Jira functionality enables you to pretty much transition any Jira. You can set up your own, you can use your server-based filters, or you can have your own custom filters. You can activate stuff. Now that the Mylan guys are the people doing the Eclipse plugin, and they already have a kind of a task-based view of the world, and they haven't gone out and developed a completely new plugin just for us. They've extended Mylan to do all of these things and kind of fit it into that way of viewing the world, which is great, and that is flowing back into the IntelliJ team. The Bamboo stuff, we kind of had a little bit of a look, but I just can't say how handy it is, those little features. You get notifications in Crucible if you turn them on, so every time someone makes a comment, and you actually do a complete review in the connector, and you can do it in your own workspace, right? So you can look at you get little Crucible icons in the margin, you can add comments, you can reply to comments. If you don't have the right versions in your workspace, it'll actually download them from Crucible and let you view them in your editor, or even use your IDE's diff mode, which arguably might be better than the Crucible side-by-side diff. And the fisheye integration is simple but awesome. So you get a little fisheye icon when you see a change list, and you just click on it and go straight to the change list. You can right-click on a line of code and copy the URL directly to that line and send it to someone via IM. It's all about doing lots of little things to make your life more easier. Clover, we've also kind of started to touch on Clover. It takes the opportunity to say that Clover is the only Atlassian tool that is Java-centric. People think of Atlassian as this Java company. Well, it's true, we do a lot of Java stuff, and we're great friends with the Java community, but this is the only tool that's just for Java. Fisheye and Crucible can review anything. Jira and Confluence, it doesn't matter. Bamboo has plugins for Ruby now. It's had Nant from the beginning. We're not a Java company, so it's a strange introduction to a Java tool. But this test optimization stuff is awesome. You can put it in your CI environment and run a gateway build that only runs the small set of tests. Or you can turn it on so it still runs all your tests, but it runs the ones that it thinks have most likely to fail, i.e. the changed ones, first, so that your 40-minute build might fail in a couple of minutes. The plugins are now awesome. As of just literally a couple of weeks ago, they have the full test integration. We now we support distributed coverage to better support functional tests, so we can collect coverage from multiple JVMs. And James Gosling just recognised it a few weeks ago by giving us the Duke's Choice Award, which is his personal choice of a handful of products that have been released in the few months before Java 1. So again, if you're a Java developer and you're not at least evaluating test optimization, please give it a crack. Bamboo, again, it's another product that's just, in the time that I've been in Atlassian since Senq was acquired, Bamboo has gone from a kind of, not a bad tool with a bit of an Atlassian feel to it, to kind of a real leader in its class. And it's got just some great features. You can have up to 25 agents. The Elastic Bamboo is this really nice built-in integration with Amazon's EC2. So you can start up agents in just by a few clicks. And watch, there's a video on the website. Literally click, spin, and you've got an agent out there checking out your source, about to build your software, that if you ran that agent for the whole month, it would cost you $70. So it's pretty compelling situation that fits what we all face, which is you do a bucket load more builds in the couple of weeks before you release. So you can scale up your environment and then just suspend them all for the rest of the time. And a feature that I didn't know about until recently, which has actually been in the product a little while, is this chat over Bamboo. So Bamboo lets you comment on builds to help your team see why a build failed or discuss it, and also sends IM notifications for build failures. Now, they've made it so you can choose to get comment notifications as well. So you get an IM that says the build failed, and you can reply to that in your IM client, which adds a comment to into Bamboo. That's been there for a while. But the nice thing is that comment now will go out to all the people that have also received that build notification. So you get the IM to say it's failed, and then Bob immediately replies and says, sorry, that's me, I'm fixing it. And now you've got that. So you don't have to think about it, you don't have to switch over to another level of communication to figure out why these things. Anyway, there's lots of good stuff. The future of Bamboo is getting some improved dependency management, so we can I've seen this, it was done as a FedEx project, and it's coming, and it's going to be extremely cool to help decide which builds to run. So it's got great features now for setting up gateways and things to rely on each other, but Bamboo will hopefully do some of this automagically for you in the future. We're going to support PHP and improve the REST API even more. How am we going for time? Right. So Fisheye has some great stuff, and if we race, we can get through them. It has these are favourites, so you can pretty much put a star onto anything and then use that as a bookmark. We have this tree, much nicer tree for navigating around your repository, which makes it a lot easier to get around large repositories. The files are now, the history of the file is much clearer for anyone who used the old Fisheye. We can even get right down into the source, and you can step backwards and forwards. We can, if we go back to the root, we can look at one of the cool things that Mike showed, which is users. So at every level, from the root right down to the bottom, we can, to a file, you can actually see the users. We can collapse the sidebar to make more room. We can sort these pretty eye candy lists. I mean important features to do with people by latest activity. It's actually really handy if you go down to an individual file. We can also sort it by commits and lines of code. I think the words our fearless CEO used was pissing contests, and it kind of is fun to play around with. And now this works across repository as well. Now, activity streams, which is funny you said pissing contest, but the activity streams are a big feature of Fisheye 2, and they're available everywhere. Everyone has a dashboard. Like, one of the biggest complaints about Fisheye was, what is that opening page for? It's utterly useless. So we now have these activity streams everywhere, and you have one for yourself, which just has a stream of things that are determined by the things you've favorited. So people and repositories and directories. It creates a single feed. We have Jira issues in the feed. These great little thumbnails that you get, so that someone attaching things to a Jira issue, they can show up in this kind of combined stream. We can also look at commits. And that's like the old Fisheye changelog, but it's now just coalesced by author. And we can also look at just the review data. And you can kind of see conversations happening. So there's the commits that we just made then. And what else have we got? There's a lot of things loaded into this stream. So we have those Jira pop-ups. So you can actually dive in and get the full description from the Jira, save having to go off there. And we're thinking about adding the ability to actually transition and do actions on issues. So when you see something's been fixed or the review's been closed, you can just close it directly in the stream. What have we got? We have a user hover, like the Confluence user hover, that helps you understand who this person is and as in which committers they're attached to. So a user is made up of several committers, and they don't even have to have the same name anymore. So Mike Cannon Brooks has committed as Mike, MCB, and M Cannon. And so now that can all be combined, and we can just see the one guy who hasn't committed in a long time. We can dive in and actually look, we can follow Agnes, and then her commits will be in our stream. We can also dive in and just see just her complete activity. So all of the issues she's commented on or raised, all of the comments and she's made in reviews, and all of her commits. If that's not specific enough for you, you can look at the committer. Hopefully. So every page has these little eye candy pop-out things. So you can see interesting stuff. So you can see that she's made 17 commits into Atlassian repository and 5 commits into Confluence that week. So it kind of actually gives you a pretty interesting sense of who's been working on things and for how long, especially once you start to drill down to those lower levels. And you can see again here, you can see Agnes has committed her mapped users. And we can go into there and you get a page for a committer. So you can see this activity stream thing repeating at every level of the repository. And just a couple of other little things. We've cleaned up the settings substantially. So hopefully people will use them. There's a lot of good stuff squirreled away in Fisheye that a lot of people never even knew about. And we also have projects. And so it's taken what used to be Crucible projects, and you can have source roots from across your Fisheye instance, and you pick out specific source roots so you can create kind of custom themes ready-made. And we also have the similar kind of thing all the way up at the repository level. So if you've got a bucket load of repositories, you can see which ones are active. And those colors actually match up with the colors on the user chart, so you can get a sense of that. We're still working on the colors. And that's sortable just like just like everything else. And just to round it out, there's also a global activity stream. So people have been asking for a change log for a long time across multiple repositories, because Fisheye performs better when split into multiple repositories. So now we kind of have the best of both worlds. You can logically break things up into projects, but you can also still get a feed for everything. And every activity stream has an RSS feed, and most of them you can watch as well and get emails. So that's just a couple of features of Fisheye. There's still lots more. There's quick nav. It's a lot faster. There's better filtering. There's all kinds of interesting things. And we've lost the little man. Oh, there he is. I should really learn how to use Keynote. So Greenhopper. I'm kind of running out of time, but we're really excited about Greenhopper. The Fisheye and Crucible teams kind of drank the Scrum Kool-Aid back in January, and you know, whilst it all didn't taste good, I don't think we would have survived the experience without Greenhopper. We kind of use it really extensively, and I think at one point they needed to upgrade Jira.Atlassian.com, and we wouldn't let them because it would have broken Greenhopper. So we're really excited that now they're in Sydney and part of the team, and we're really looking forward to big things in that area. And we also have Jira Studio that deserves a mention. It often gets forgotten in these things, but Jira Studio is the sum of the parts, and now for $25 a month, if you can have your source offsite, it's a pretty compelling little offering there, especially for mid-sized teams. It's something to keep in mind. And we're running a, can you read that? We just started today a new kind of mini site about how we do Agile at Atlassian. I'm not a big fan of buzzwords, and especially Agile, but the marketing people kind of weren't that keen on my idea of pragmatically flexible programming at Atlassian. Didn't have the same kind of ring to it. Hopefully that'll keep me out of marketing. And this is why we shouldn't be. This is what they thought they could rename ALM. This is a serious page in our extranet where there was a discussion about how we can kind of tackle ALM, and this is what they thought we should try and get it to be. I'm serious. I can show you the page. Except theirs had a circle through it with the old ALM with a little, anyway. So, sorry about that. Thank you very much for spending the time. If anybody wants to ask any questions, we've got about 2 minutes, and we'll be around both here and at the pavilion at Java 1, available for demos. This stuff really looks best when it's demoed, and sorry about failing. Yes?
With the Crucible, the new feature where it can automatically add a subtask, would that work if the original issue was a subtask itself?
It's a little bit constrained at the moment. You basically set specifically in Fisheye literally the type ID that it's allowed. So it only tries to create one kind of issue in Jira, which we recommend is a subtask. So you've got to specify the exact like transition IDs and the issue type ID, and it currently only supports one. So as long as the parent issue supports whatever kind of issue, like sub issue that you want to give it, then.
Can a subtask have a subtask?
You have to ask a Jira person that kind of.
You didn't use them. I don't
No,
know.
probably no. There you go. So no.
Is it possible to link a review in Crucible to another review without using Jira? Like, do we have to go through the task and the subtask in Jira, or can you just link two reviews together?
Yeah. You've always been able to have multiple reviews linked. I mean, it's just a link that you get as a kind of bit of that metadata. Yep.
So one of your slides mentioned the
Yes?
I don't remember that being previously supported.
It
And
has.
is it supported for performance is the following question.
Well, a pre-commit code review is a patch review. So you can upload a patch or you can upload individual files. And if you use IntelliJ or Eclipse, the connectors will handle that for you. So when you go to commit, you just choose patch review and it'll upload the patch and handle the whole thing for you. But it's always been there in the kind of managed files. You've been able to upload a patch, and Perforce can produce patches, and your IDE can produce patches. Or you can actually upload the files, but it's a little bit clunkier. You've got to upload all of the files individually, and you can diff 2 files again. And it's quite handy. You can actually upload images, just any old review. So a standard Crucible review, you can upload a screenshot, which we insist on now, and it's really nice.
Will licensed customers be able to get the source code for Crucible?
We want to. The only issue that we have is that we use a proprietary database that are not exactly friendly to us in terms of licensing that Senqua used, and we're working on it, basically. It comes down to licensing, and if we can't resolve that, because it's really onerous on us, there's some various paths that we can take. But yeah, we're looking at, if we could, we would have already, but we're trying to figure out the best way of doing that with kind of living up to our legal obligations.
Well, you said something in a slide about external database support, though?
Yes.
So I'm confused. What's the external and what's the...
We have, it's actually a B-tree database that Fisheye uses to store most of its data. I mean, it's called InfinityDB, it's no secret, yeah? Yeah. So that's our problem. So, sorry? Yeah, absolutely.
So what is the external database?
That's for Crucible. Fisheye now can use that as well, but basically it means all of your data in Crucible can now be accessed a lot more easily, so you can do your own reporting on metrics that you might put into Crucible, and you're not limited to that, or you can use a kind of more performant database. HSQL's all right, but once you get a few thousand reviews, it starts to get a bit dangerous. Anything else?
You can't map that out. In Fisheye, you're still using the Infinity database.
Yeah. You can talk after. There's people that can explain why.
In your life cycle of going through, one of the things that's missing is test case management, tracking, and contribution. Is that something that Atlassian's thinking about?
Jira? Oh, no, I'm joking. Yeah. We're always looking to build our development stack. I don't think there's any plans to, not that I know of, to immediately acquire anybody or build a tool in that area. I think we have 9 products now, so the next one will have to be a goodie. Cheers. Well, thank you very much. There's a survey to do. There's some surveys getting handed out, or you can use the online version. Thanks a lot for your time. Bye, Fisheye. Come and get a demo.